Warning, this video does include spoilers for Avengers Endgame. Please watch at your own caution. Hi there and welcome to Circuit the World. My name is Alice and today we're going to be discussing Avengers Endgame and specifically how time travel works in this film. This is a new segment I like to call Alice Reviews. Roll the credits! Avengers Endgame was one of the most anticipated films of the year, nay the century, and came out last week, April 25th. From this point forwards, I will be discussing Avengers Endgame and including spoilers. If you haven't seen this film, I do encourage you to stop this video now, go and see it because there's some really cool moments and really nice callbacks that the directors and the producers have put in there that are meant to be seen firsthand and not spoiled. I would hate to spoil this film for anyone because I was so anticipating it, and you know, there's a lot of fan service in it, so I'm still going to be here when you've gone and seen it, so please pause the video and I'll see you later. Go check out the film and then come back. One of the biggest things that people have been talking about is the element of time travel that is a big player in this film. On a personal note, I absolutely hate time travel. I think it's lazy writing in books and films. I think it opens more issues and potential problems than it fixes. Okay, you can go back and change something you did that you didn't like, but now in your universe, your characters can go back and forth in time, which means that whenever they do something they don't like again, they can just go back, change it, and reset, which I don't like. Anyway, personal qualms aside, this film did deal with time travel. Avengers go back, reclaim all of the Infinity Stones from the past, bring them to the future, undo the snap work because Thanos has destroyed the stones in their current time, undo Thanos' snap by using the stones, and then go back and put all the stones back in the right place. The problem, as I mentioned, with time travel is plot hole city. It's taken me a little while to kind of get my head around how the whole time travel thing works. And I think I've got it to a point where I can talk about it and understand what I'm talking about, but also to a point where it makes sense and alleviates some of the plot holes that come later in the film. Bear with me because this may get a little bit tricky and I may even lose my own train of thought during this. So just stick with me till the end and hopefully it will all make sense. One of the things that Marvel is super clear on and tries to make very clear from kind of the offset, the first moment they say utter the words time travel, is that going back in time and changing things won't change the past. This basically alleviates any theorizing that they may go back and try rebooting and kind of outwriting any of the first 11 years, 22 films we've seen. And they're very keen to make sure off the bat that things like the butterfly effect and stuff like this and let's just go back and kill baby Thanos is wiped off the table in the first place. This is the line that is uttered. That past becomes your future and your former present becomes your past. When talking about time travel in this film, this is what we have to go off. We have to forget everything in other films. We have to forget things like the butterfly effect. We have to forget how time travel works elsewhere, because this, in this film, in this universe, is the way that Marvel sets up time travel. I do not envy the Marvel writers who had to come up with this, because I'm sure they lost a lot of sleep over it. They literally hit you over the head with this for about 5 minutes. And the whole perception of this is that your former past becomes your future for your version of yourself. But there's obviously two versions of everyone if you go back into the past. Your former present, which is the time you came from, becomes your past, which means, for example, if you start in 2023, as the Avengers do, and travel back to 2012, future you in 2012, their past is 2023, whereas their future is currently in 2012. Am I making sense so far? I feel like I'm losing myself. Stick with me, let me go for my example. But keep this quote in mind as I go through the next bit, because this is what's important. And this is what starts to split this is what splits Avengers Endgame time travel with other time travel.
And what's my pen?
So this is what I like to call the time loop theory. And if anybody else has come up with this, awesome. Because I think for me this is the best way that I can explain and understand how time travel works in this film. Let's start with me. Yay, it's me, I'm so happy. Let's say this is 2000, so this is young me, okay? And young me, for the first time, has been handed a ham and cheese sandwich. It's so yummy and so tasty that 2000 me is so happy about it. This ham and cheese sandwich is the best thing she's ever had in the world. Let's spin forwards 19 years to present day. 2000 me, however, is not happy. Oh no. Why? Because a plague has come along and wiped out all of the pigs. Sad for pigs, but this means, apologies for the crew, I'm doing it quickly to prove a point. So no more pigs anymore in 2019, which means I can't have my beloved childhood ham and cheese sandwich. However, 2019 me has an idea a la Tony Stark and invents a time travel machine, which means I can go back in time. Now I'm going to go all the way back to, I don't know, 1999. A year before I have my very first ham and cheese sandwich. And now, over here, I'm super happy because, yay, there are pigs again, which means I can get my ham. Specifically, the packet of ham that 2000 me's mum is going to use to make this sandwich. Yeah? So here's the ham, and here's also that very same ham. So these are one and the same. I go back to 2019, now happy, yay, because I have the ham. This ham is no longer here, which means this ham is no longer here. Here's where the dilemma comes in. If this ham is no longer here, this sandwich never gets made, which means this version of me never has this ham and cheese sandwich, which means that future me is never sad when the pigs all die, because I don't know what ham tastes like, because for 19 years I never had it. So I don't feel the need to come back in time to get the ham, to take the ham back to the future. Which means that this never happens, which then makes a mess. This event of me having the ham sandwich always has to happen for future me to have a need to come back in time. So let's go and put this straight into practice with a character who has disputed quite a lot of debate online, a Mr. Steve Rogers. He travels back to Peggy Carter in the past to dance with her and to live out his life with her and becomes old Steve at the end of the film. However, what people don't like is the fact that there is a Steve Rogers that sits around for 70 years and does nothing to stop or prevent any of these events to happen. Here is why he cannot and does not do that. So this is the timeline we're looking at with Steve. We've got current day in the MCU, which is 2023, and we've got the time in which he meets with Peggy. I'm going to say 1946, but it's just whenever it's post-war, it's post him going on ice. Here is Steve, with his little thing. So this is end of Endgame Steve here. And he's ready to go on his teleporter to put the stones back where he found them, or where they came from. So this is what I'm calling the time loop theory, pattern pending. Steve goes back in time, puts the stones back and realigns this timeline here is the golden, we're going to call it the golden timeline. This is the path that 2023 Steve, has followed. This is his timeline. Yeah? So he has gone back, he's sat in 1970, job done, task done, and then he goes, I'm gonna get that life that Tony told me to take. And he goes, and then what we have is very happy 2023 Steve with 1946 Peggy, yeah? Happy, in love, spending their life together. However, at the same time, this is all happening at once. This Steve is here, happy with Peggy. He is also here, Ice Cube Steve. If at any point during this Steve's progression of this timeline, this Steve gets involved and changes any of these moments, this Steve no longer gets to the end, which means he never comes back, which means he never goes to Peggy. So the whole thing is a continuous loop. This character must complete this timeline to end up at this point, to end up going back to getting this point, to run his second timeline. Yes, there is always two Steve Rogers during the entire timeline of the MCU now. In our first run through of it, no, but now there is. And yes, this Steve can never interfere with the golden timeline, because if he does, he'll knock Ice Steve off track, which means he'll never get to the end point and he will never go back and live with Peggy. And that is my understanding of time loop theory. I really hope that made sense. It makes perfect sense in my head, I'm just not sure if I'm describing it very well. Quick little interruption, I forgot to mention Loki when I did the filming. Loki in 2012, when Tony's mission to get the Tesseract with Scott goes wrong, he escapes with the Tesseract, takes it with him and disappears to places unknown. If Loki isn't captured and taken back to Asgard, he never helps Thor in Thor the Dark World, which means when the Black Elves catch up to him and Thor, they probably kill Thor, which means he never prevents them from taking over and basically destroying Greenwich in London. However that happens, however it goes down, a bit like however the ham gets to me in 2000 when I'm trying to make the first ham sandwich, Loki has to be captured by Thor and taken back to Asgard with the Tesseract. It could lead to alternate realities, but it shouldn't, because if it does, the entirety of the films we know starts to crumble, and it doesn't just affect Loki's timeline, because Loki being where he is for the next film we see him in, Thor: The Dark World, affects a lot more than just Loki's timeline. Events have to occur as they occurred in the time loop theory. I hope that makes sense. Hopefully have a chat with somebody about it in the comments below. Thanos is a great one to look at for this timeline, because this is where we start hitting some sticky situations. This is Thanos' timeline. First off, we have this Thanos. I'm going to call him Gauntlet Thanos. Gauntlet Thanos is happy because by 2018 he gets his achievement and his timeline stops right there. Thanos' timeline always stops in 2018 because he is killed. When the guys travel back in time, they meet up with this guy again, who is evil, psychopathic, I'm just going to kill everyone, I want the Infinity Stones. Thanos. Tony makes it very, very clear when he even starts doing whole time travel things. Save what we lost, I hope. Protect what I have to. Paraphrasing, but that's kind of the line he goes for. 2023 Tony knows that if the events that happened that got them to where they are right now don't happen, he loses Mordor, his daughter, which he doesn't want to do. He prefer to protect her life rather than save his own. My theory is when he snaps everyone at the end of Endgame, all he does is resets them back to 2014. What this does is it gives Thanos' whole character in Infinity War a much deeper depth. What it means is throughout that entire film, throughout everything he does from 2014 onwards, he knows, because he's learnt, he has to and he does get the stones. Which makes sense why he talks about, this is my destiny, I am destiny, this is what will happen, this has to happen, this does happen. Why he's so sure of himself, the things he does, and that his actions will lead to his success. Because he knows they do, because he's already seen them. And it also gives him another kind of more explanation as to why he doesn't really think twice before he throws Gamora off to get the Soul Stone. Because in his mind, he has that process of, well, I've already done this, because I've already won. Therefore, I have to do it again. And I'm not going to change the future because I want my path to succeed. Two problems come with this theory, and I'm also going to try and answer them. I can answer one, but I can't answer the other. Nebula is dead, and Gamora is due to appear in Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm just going to scratch off Gamora from the start because that doesn't make sense. It's the only part of my theory that I cannot make sense. She's confirmed to be in Guardians 3, but Tony doesn't know her. Tony wouldn't know to save her from the snap. So if he does snap everyone back to the timeline, she has to go back with them. She also has to go back with them because otherwise there's no 2014 Gamora in 2014, which means everything she did through Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Infinity War, all of this stuff doesn't happen. Thanos' plan fails because he can't get the Soul Stone because he doesn't have Gamora. He also doesn't have Gamora to tell him where to get the Soul Stone. I don't know how they're bringing her back in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. All I know is I hope it's not 2014 Gamora, because that ruins everything and makes way too many plot holes to even start to describe. And I know people will say, but we didn't see her disappear, so we didn't see her snap away. They did exactly the same to Shuri in Infinity War. She was part of the snap, yet we never saw her disappear on screen. It's also very, very possible that the scene was shot and was left on the cutting room floor. So it'll also be more interesting when we can get our hands on the deleted scenes and stuff to start really making sense of this stuff, because I reckon there is a lot left to be explained that was cut out. I reckon there's some more stuff with Loki that was in the film and cut for runtime. And you're already looking at 180 minutes of runtime. You're going to be trying to cut out as much as you can. So that's Gamora put to bed. Second one is Nebula. Future Nebula killed past Nebula, which is like a big no-go. in time travel. Here's my explanation to that. Nebula is mainly machine, as we know, because Thanos pulls her apart and puts her back together. My understanding is she is shot and potentially killed, if not mortally wounded, by Nebula, future Nebula. And we don't know what happens to Nebula after she gets shot because we just don't see her again. We only see 2023 Nebula. When Tony snaps everyone back into their correct time, she dusts away and disappears back onto the ship with Thanos and Gamora. Thanos, believing that she will always play for his team, he sees her become this traitor, but he also sees her unbecome a traitor. So to Thanos, in Thanos' mind, she's not ever a traitor. Therefore, he feels she's key and he needs her for the end. Because she's mechanical, he just factory resets her, rebuilds her, whatever. But he brings her back. Or she's not dead, she's just very badly wounded, and he can bring her back and rebuilds her. And that is how Nebula returns, continues through the stories as she did when we first watched them. I find it very interesting that Marvel even did this because they know how much fans and theorists and all of us pull apart like trailers and look for Easter eggs and go through the movies time and time again to try and understand and get everything out of them. To have such glaringly big problems or big potential plot holes that aren't filled almost feels very un-Marvel to me, which I think is one of the reasons I didn't enjoy it the first time I watched it. And I'll honestly say that. I went to a midnight showing so I was tired and very emotional anyway because they had to kill off my boy. Literally everyone survived apart from my boy, and now my other boy has to go through without him, and Far From Home is just going to break my heart because they're going to focus on it at the start and I just don't know. It just felt very un-Marvel and it felt like there was too many loose ends. For a film that they said was supposed to be tying up the stories of the 6 main Avengers, I feel like they only did half the job. They tied up Tony okay. Personally, I don't feel like they needed to kill him. I feel like they could have got to his arc and completed his arc in exactly the same way without killing him. But there we go. Cap, they tied off, and I think they tied that off really, really well. I don't have any complaints about Cap. And obviously Black Widow, they tied off by killing her. And there's some debate again with her between should it have been her, should it have been Hawkeye, but that's thoughts for another video. Thor is still wide open. The first time I saw it, I hated what they did to Thor. They built up such a character development through Ragnarok and through Infinity War, such a good character development for him, and he really came through from being that kind of hot-headed, I'm the best, I'm superior, egotistical Thor from the very first Thor, all the way through to this guy who was accepting that it was his fate and it was his and he had to do it, and he was the person that his people looked to and he had to be the leader for them. And to me it just felt like they threw the whole thing away. I mean, I've got no problem with him being a beast. That was funny and that was fine, and it didn't, you know, the superheroes don't have to be super buff. I didn't have a problem with that at all. That's not my issue. My issue was I felt like they used him way too much for comic relief, and they undid a lot of his character arc. Professor Hulk I thought was great, and I thought he and Scott's plays of each other was just fantastic. I do hope that they do another film with 2 of them, and I now feel like they've brought a new character through of Professor Hulk. I've heard some people commenting that it was done quite quickly and fast, but you have to remember there was a 5-year time jump. I was okay with it, I was fine with it, and I got on board with it as introducing as kind of a new character, but I now feel like they've got a whole nother storyline they can run with him, and should run with him. Hawkeye, I guess, sort of did, but once again, you brought in this whole new persona of Ronan, and okay, maybe the Ronan thing was just a nod to comic book fans, and I'm okay with that, I'm cool with that, that's fine. Again, you've almost rebooted his story, you've restarted it. He's got now this whole other thing, he's now got, you know, kind of got Nat's blood on his hands. So that's something to talk about. And he's got to think about how many people he killed. Can he just go back to a normal family life and pretend he never did it? Is there really going to be no one who's after his blood for doing what he did? Don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed the film. I thought it was a massively good fan service. The entire 2012 scene, I think, will forever be my most favourite Marvel scene in the entire thing. It was amazing, it was so good, really, really well done. Some awesome little kicks to the comics, as well as paying fan service to the fans, and a lot of nods and saying like, you know what, you've been here for the ride with us. This is for you guys. So I wouldn't say it was the best film, and I certainly wouldn't say it was better than Infinity War. I don't know where I would rate it. If you guys want to hear my Marvel rating, let me know down below and I'll do something about that. It just felt like so much was missed, and it felt like there was too many things left questioned that is very unlike Marvel to leave questioned. Before I get too off topic, talking about the film, this was supposed to just be about my theory on time hopping, which I hope made sense. Please, if you have any thoughts on the film, on the time loop theory, on anything else I've mentioned in this, feel free to disagree with me, feel free to agree with me, but do let me know down below in the coffee pot, because I'm so into Marvel, so into the Avengers, so into this whole thing. I would love to discuss this further with you down below. And if you guys want to hear any other thoughts I have, I mean, I made 4 pages worth of notes whilst I was watching this film, and I will certainly chat away with you, or let me know on any of my social medias. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Reddit, and I'm on Tumblr. Let me know on any of these, and I will be more than happy to discuss them with you. I love talking about this film, and I love theorizing, and I absolutely love trying to work things out and things, and that's one of the reasons I love playing the games when I don't know what's coming, because then I get to kind of try and work out what's happening and understand things. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It's been an absolute blast. If you enjoyed this video, please go and show that like button some love. Stay awesome, and I will see you all next time. Me, I got a fancy new whiteboard for this and everything.